Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of my Metaverse Breakout series. In this episode, I'm going to be reenacting a bit of history from ancient Rome in regards to the gladiators and how some of them would earn their freedom. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the story. So, Gladiator wants to escape. And he says that I'm tired of this life of bloodshed and carnage. Here, how can I escape? Question mark. And then we'll have another gladiator character come in, be the older gladiator. He'll be the teacher of sorts, and he'll say, "You're a bit young. You're a bit too young to be eligible." You know what? I think I should rephrase it actually. Instead of "how can I escape," I should probably have him say, "Will I ever be able to leave this life? One day, but it will come at great cost." And then I'll have the young gladiator ask him, or I'll have him reply by saying, "I don't care about the cost. What must I do to escape this nightmare?" So the older gladiator will reply, that it's not what you must do to escape, but what you must earn. Then I'll have the young gladiator say something like, "Stop being cryptic, old man. Stop being cryptic, old man. Cryptic, old man. What must a gladiator earn to gain his freedom?" Okay, and so now that we've set up the question, now we can move on to the actual breakout. And so in this instance, we're going to have the older gladiator kind of mess with him some more. What must a gladiator earn to gain his freedom? Freedom. Alright, and so now we can actually move on to the question and answers. So in this case we have clues, and in this case we'll have our answers. And so with our clues, what we're going to do now is I've already got some pictures before of the answer for those of you who don't know, the gladiators will be offered a sort of freedom, well, sort of a pseudo freedom, if they were able to earn something called a rudis. It was considered a pseudo freedom because they were still gladiators. They weren't still seen as normal citizens, but at the very least they wouldn't have to fight anymore once they earned the sword. So here's one of the hints to it. It's the same small wooden swords we used to train with. And then another one of the hints that I can use is the actual title itself. The root word for the term Rudiarius is the name of the item that will give you your freedom, period. Alright, and so with this one, it's a little hard to come up with a whole host of hints without straight up giving away the answer. So I'm going to keep the hints light on this one, but at the same time these are pretty extensive, so a person would likely not have too much trouble doing the research to find the answer. So transition to scene 6. Alright, and so now for the answer, we need a text input scene. And I think I'll have a picture of it, and I'll repeat the question again. So, what must a gladiator earn to gain his freedom? Question mark. Alright, so now we have to have this transition into our most recent box, and then with this one we're going to have a logic box, and we're going to go to string. Now, as I mentioned before in another video, what you can do with the response contains, it allows you, all you have to do is put in the word that you're looking for. In this case, we're looking for the word called a rudis. I'll leave it lowercase in the event. Alright, and then we can transition not to the scene, but transition to the block that says response contains. So if I type in just the word rudis, a rudis, the rudis, wooden rudis, etc., as long as I type in the word rudis, then it will pick that up. It will pick it up and it will consider it to be a correct answer. And if it's incorrect, then I need to create something that will let them know that it's incorrect. Incorrect. Remember to write your to answer that's incorrect. Check the clues if you need help. and I need to correct that. So alright, so we have check the clues if you need help, and then we'll have this go back to the scene 6. I think it's really helpful if a person misses a question to not have them restart the entire experience, because it could create frustration if they have to keep doing the whole thing over and over again because they missed one question. That's why I'm using one question in these examples, in this example, but in another example where I have multiple questions, I still do the same. I have it link and take them right back to an area where they don't have to do the whole thing again. So let's see if they're correct. Then we transition to scene 10. Alright. And then I'll have it end with the old Gladiator. But knowing what will give you freedom and earning and earning it are two different things. And then I have one final scene with the old Gladiator. Says how to gain your freedom. Yeah, I won't have him laugh. It's a little too on the nose. Alright, and then we can have this button transition to an end experience. And so now we can do is transition, make sure all the scenes are connected. So with the ones that have a lot meatier dialogue, I like to make sure it's a button. But for the ones where it's not so much dialogue, then I don't usually put a button. To kind of streamline the experience. Usually people are able to read pretty quickly. So my rule of thumb on that is if it's a lot of dialogue or if there's an unfamiliar word in the text box, then I would use a button to allow the user to read it as long as they need to. But if it's a very short reply or something like that, or it's not too complex, then I would suggest going ahead and just having it transition after a set period of time. Alright, so now the experience is set up, I need to check and see if it's all going to work. So let me go ahead and test it. Alright, so everything looks good so far. I'm tired of this life of bloodshed and carnage. Will I ever be able to leave this life? One day, but it will come at a great cost. I don't care about the cost. What must I do to escape this nightmare? It's not what you must do, but what you must earn. Stop being cryptic, old man. What must the gladiator earn to gain his freedom? What must the gladiator earn to gain his freedom? I'll check my clues. It's the same small wooden swords we used to train with. The root word for the term rudiarius is the name for the item that will give you your freedom. What must the gladiator use to do? Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put in the answer. I'm actually going to see, so if I do this in all caps, then I'm going to get it wrong, correct? Exactly. But if I answer it in lowercase, or even if I do something like a rudis, then I'll get it correct. So first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and correct a typo, because that totally ruins the dramatic tension here. Is not what you must do. What you must, and I'll reuse the word life. I'll use a little bit more of a dramatic. This hell. So I think what I should do for response contains actually is I should switch it to Udis, which is technically incorrect, but my purpose for doing that is that I don't necessarily want to penalize someone for proper grammar. And if someone just happens to capitalize Rudis instead of use it in lowercase, I'd still want them to be able to complete this as well. So let me go ahead and see how this will work out. What must the gladiator earn to gain his freedom? What must the gladiator earn to gain his freedom? So here we go. I'm going to try with the capital Rudis like that. Alright, and so that solves the issue of, capital letters versus lowercase letters. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this for every word, because sometimes if you take away the front letter in a word, it will give you another word. But for this instance, it works. For those other instances I just mentioned, there's another way to do it, and I'll have to explore that in another video. But thank you for watching this video. I hope it helps, and have a good day.